Greenlights by Matthew McConaughey. This has been like the most successful bestseller on Audible for what, like 4 months? And I wonder why that is. I'm gonna try to lay that out in this review. I mean, really, Matthew McConaughey is an actor. That's really all I knew about him before checking it out. Maybe other reviews of this book are coming from people who are like, oh my gosh, Matthew McConaughey, I love Matthew McConaughey. Matthew McConaughey? Matthew McConaughey is the man who taught me to learn, laugh, live, and love. I've seen every movie, every show, every interview. He is the root beer to my blue sky. And the walnut to my pancakes, or whatever the saying is. Is there even a saying for that? Basically, knowing nothing about Matthew McConaughey prior, I hope to bring a little bit of perspective to this. What is his story? What even does he have to say? This seems like a shorter memoir than others I've checked out. Why is that? What separates this one from those? And Greenlights is a pretty cool name. Why is it called Greenlights? Let's talk about it. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Samuel, and I want to make self-growth normal. If you want to make self-growth normal, because I don't want to do it alone, then make sure to smash that like button. So yeah, sure, it's a memoir. He tells stories from the past, and it's pretty evident in the way he talks about these things that he's not really interested in sentimentality or nostalgia. This isn't really an advice book either. He doesn't consider himself a preacher, but he does consider this an approach book. Interesting, an approach book. He's here to share stories, insights, and philosophies that can be objectively understood and, if you want, subjectively applied by changing your reality or how you see it. So right off the bat, I told you guys I was going to try to lay out why this book is so popular. One word about the intro: comprehensive-ness. I listen to audiobooks. I'm a strict Audible listener. I'm sure it's just about like this with the book, but the audiobook it's so easy to listen to. You hear it and you're like, wow, this guy he really is someone, isn't he? Some people I imagine might find it a little bit annoying. I find it compelling and peculiar and a little bit charming. He knows how to describe things in a chain of different ways. Describing what a green light means to him, McConaughey wrote, "In our lives, they are an affirmation of our way. They are approvals, support, praise, gifts, gas on our fires, attaboys, and appetites. They are cash and money, birth, springtime, health, joy, sustainability, innocence, and a fresh start. We love green lights. They don't interfere with our direction. They're easy, and they say yes, and they give us what we want." That's like 16 different ways to describe what a green light is. There are 7 or 8 chapters. Each one of them is a night or a day or a season of a given year that he lived, and a name of it and what it pertains to regarding these philosophies, slow down, Sam, philosophies, insights, and approaches. So the first one is called Outlaw Logic. Wednesday night, 1974. Something else is just throwing things out there that about himself and his history that almost seemed like unbelievable, like how his mom thought that he was a tumor until her 5th month of pregnancy with him. He explained why this is, but his family seemed almost dysfunctional, but at the same time somehow just not. I couldn't imagine being in an upbringing like Matthew McConaughey's, but what's pretty cool is that I probably could after giving the audiobook a listen. Forcing soap down family members' throats, hitting them in the sides of the heads with 2x4s, forcing them to get haircuts just because they didn't want to. There was a point where the children did stuff like this to the parents. But this chapter spoke a lot to the relationships that he had with his family growing up, which sounded rough and tough and loving and fun and crazy at the same time. The next chapter is called Find Your Frequency, Spring 1988. It's very quaint how he laid out these chapters. I think the main idea of this chapter was value in eliminating who we are not first in order to make it easy to find out who we are. So when I heard the stories about the red sports car, it was a Nissan ZX300 or something like that. I work at a dealership. How did I not take note of this? Okay, so I just looked it up to confirm, and it is a Nissan 300ZX, which is like this candy red sports car that he got. But how when he bought it, life was so different for him from when he had his truck. And not in the way that you would expect. All the things that he got out of that truck, all the girls, and they would do donuts after school, and the realization that he came to, getting the sports car, it wasn't all it's cracked up to be. So it was a story like that, and the story about his experience with the dualies in Australia, particularly, it became clear to me how much this book's power will center around not just the storytelling, but how nuts this guy is. I won't spoil that one with the dualies, but it's very badass how he handled it. The next chapter is called Dirt Roads and Autobahns, July 1989. Listening to this book further, I wondered what his life would have been like if he had the chance to check out books like this one repeatedly over the years when he was younger. Something tells me he kind of already did. Another standout description that he placed at the end of a chapter, something he calls a note to self. He also did this with the word prescription. Cool. Cool is a natural law. If it was cool for that time, then it is cool for all time. A fad is just a branch on cool's charm. A fashionable 15 minutes whose fling can never abide no matter how long she tends to try. Cool stands the test of time, as cool never tries. Cool just is. Something else he does a lot in this book, which you simply can't find annoying. I mean, it's the... What's that word? It's what you hear that's repeated in a book or story or movie or show or song or piece or whatever that you're digesting. It's kind of like an anchor. I think it's called a motif or a motif. The motif of that one Beethoven piece, the Fifth Symphony. What the motif of the book is when he tells us a story about something good happening or something he learned as a result of his own actions that got him what he wanted. He'll pause and say Greenlight. I think that's so genius and again accessible, and it adds a lot of cohesion and comprehensiveness to the reader's or listener's experience. The next chapter is called The Art of Running Downhill, January 1994. Sometime in this chapter is when he started talking about what got him into film and how he took the most significant sections of his life, significant because they left the greatest impact on his mind and his soul and the way that he approaches everything. The way that he told the stories and did that, it has this golden classic quality to it that, like, hey, I get what he meant now when he said that it's not a typical memoir. I think that's one of the biggest differentiators of this book from others that's going to make it stand the test of time so easily. The next chapter is Turn the Page, October 23rd, 1999. There's a moment in this chapter that stood out to me as a moment that indicated the author had reached his prime. He's wise and reflective, and he's learned from his mistakes. Acknowledge the greatest and phenoms, excellence and extraordinaries, pleasures and pains, recognize them as true entities, both beautiful and horrible, tragic and heavenly. Be not naive to all inspiring feats of good or fortune, nor gullible to mankind's capacity for evil. Be not blind to the natural credence of beauties and disasters. Nothing God or Mother Nature does is unbelievable. The arrow doesn't seek the target draws the arrow, March 2005. Most romantic chapter, hands down. Okay, I'll say this. The way that he talks about Camilla, his wife, is the way, like, if every man spoke about his wife the way this guy does, wife or husband, let's not pretend gays don't exist here, I believe the world would be a much better place. In Be Brave, Take the Hill, fall 2008, from acting to running a production company to getting married to having kids, it's pretty evident that he took more of a thorough approach over time to what he was doing. Like, you can't be a person, you can't be a person like Matthew McConaughey and not learn from your mistakes. With marriage, for example, the decision that he made to marry Camilla, the visit he made to his pastor, the visit and what that pastor said about marriage being a communion and how you're not changing, you're just becoming more of who you're meant to be, and this unity with your wife and God is like part of that. It's almost as if who Matthew McConaughey is triples. Whether or not you believe this, I just think it sounded really cool and beautiful. And it's parts like that which make events in this book, like this one, the marriage, very climactic and exciting. That, and of course, once again, his storytelling. And of course, from time to time, how nuts he is. In the concluding chapter, Live Your Legacy Now, November 7th, 2011, he summarized what, in terms of green, yellow, and red lights, each decade of his life has so far signified. He even brought COVID into the mix and mentioned what challenges our society has faced in the last year. I mean, how can you write a book like this without forgetting such a thing? A lot of non-fiction books coming out in the next few years. I'm just gonna expect to say something about 2020. A lot of them still talk about 2008, but by the time COVID's in history books, they probably won't even be books anymore. They'll probably just be like a pill you take or a program that you download into like the software, like psychological hardware or software or something. Overall, I'm a little astonished. This book really offered a lot of refreshment, a lot of reminders to the table of how a lot of its readers and listeners probably look at things. It's the type of book likely to make an impact that's not really deniable. It's entertaining, it's kind of enlightening, it's heartwarming, you feel like you're living his life with him. And none of it's hard to listen to, even the very intense parts with the yelling. I don't know if it's just the audiobook, but Matthew McConaughey, he just knows how to make it sound like that. I could listen to this guy's voice for days, but I hope that this review has made it clear, at least some of what makes Greenlights as reputable as it is. If you like this video, make sure to give it a big thumbs up. Just kidding, the video's not over yet. But before you go any further, make sure to do that, and also make sure to hit that subscribe button so you can check out all the videos that I'm putting out. This all helps with ranking and SEO and stuff like that, and I really appreciate it because so much work goes into making these videos. Quotes. I was blackmailed into having sex for the first time when I was 15. I was certain I was going to hell for premarital sex. Today I am merely certain that I hope that's not the case. this. I'd rather lose money having fun than make money being bored. People wonder how to make it. First of kin with innate ability and a lot of hard work, yes, but don't forget the steam. Some call it juice, some call it magic. The genie's in the magic's in the steam. We didn't get in trouble for committing the crime, we got in trouble for getting caught. Sometimes making a choice and sticking to it is more important than the choice you make. It's not about win or lose, it's about do you accept the challenge. A great man is not all to each, he is each to all. Direction 1. The author says that he hopes this book can lend a hand if you need it, it can teach you something, it might inspire you, it might make you laugh, it might remind you, and arm you with some tools to help you move forward as yourself. If you'd like a little bit of that, I'd recommend checking this book out. Direction 2. I don't want to spoil anything with Greenlights or the book I'm about to recommend, but some of the storytelling and the very creative ways that this guy got what he wanted reminded me royally of the book When I Stop Talking, You Will Know I'm Dead by Jerry Weintraub. If you enjoy Greenlights, I have a strong feeling you will love When I Stop Talking. Greenlights by Matthew McConaughey. There's a link in the description if you guys want to check it out and read the reviews. That and all the other books that I mentioned in this video if you want to check those out too. If you guys buy anything through the links in the description, then I get commission, which helps me build this channel and keep making these videos. If there are any other books that you guys want me to check out and review, please let me know in the comments below. Also, let me know if you checked out this book and you liked it. But hey, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, because I don't get why people watch this far into my videos and they don't subscribe. But if you have subscribed and you want to turn it up just a notch and turn on that notification bell to get a notification whenever I drop new videos, that would mean the world to me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. You can find me everywhere, and I will see you then.